What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we are doing a little review on the Wicked Implement. This thing comes from the Season of the Deep here as a secret exotic that we got to unlock week to week by catching exotic fish on each of our destinations with Nessus, the Throne World, and EDZ. Once you caught all three of those exotic fish, head into the Ghost of the Deep dungeon, deposit them at 3 different thrall statues, one at each encounter on your way through the dungeon, and you will find a secret boss, which is a Lucent Hive. Defeat that and you actually get a Wicked Implement. So very intricate little quest that you have to go through, and then the catalyst on top of it have to complete a tier 7 deep dive, which is the seasonal activity for us. So a little bit of a grind to get this weapon, and in my opinion it kinda isn't worth it, but this thing has a very niche build for at least it to work. In my opinion, the stasis synergy of this is pretty nice, but overall for the grind and what you have to do to grab this weapon, not 100% worth it. But for those collectors out there, definitely go grab this thing. So right here is the Wicked Implement. It does look very good, a very good aesthetic in my opinion, one of the best looking exotics that we have got. Now, for the exotic perks and weapon perks on this, we're going to have Corkscrew for range stability and handling, Accurized for that increased range with Fitted Stock for stability, recoil control with a little less handling. You can see those stats over on the right hand side, basically straight up and down with that 94 recoil direction and 62 in range and impact with 63 in stability. So this thing does feel very consistent when you are shooting it. Now, for its exotic perk here, Tithing Harvest. Precision final blows while creeping attribution is active, creates stasis shards that return to you. Collecting stasis shards refills the magazine, which it can overflow it as well, but it only overflows to double the magazine size, so 30 in the magazine at once, which I do feel like that could be a lot higher, like 50, 55 would feel way better with this, just because 15 in general doesn't feel like that much. Even when it gets overflowed to 30, you have to collect those stasis shards, but it can be any sort of stasis shards. So if you're using, like I was with this Titan build, you can throw those diamond lances, any sort of stasis shard that gets created from those frozen targets, from the big stasis frozen shards that are out there. You can really get to farming those and create a bunch, so you basically never have to reload this weapon when you are collecting those stasis shards infinitely. But it is, like I said, a very niche kind of build because of its perks here. And then the creeping attrition, rapidly landing precision hits causes targets to become slowed, so you can freeze targets and slow targets with this weapon as well. So overload and unstoppable champions can be stopped with this, but again, there's way better ways in my personal opinion to do that. Plus, you have only 15 shots in the magazine, and the reload is kind of slow for this, so it does take a lot to just freeze the target for like an unstoppable, and then you're gonna have to reload, which is basically the entire stun time in my personal opinion. But like I said, this thing does have some niche combinations, like you can see in a side of this build that we were using with Titan. All those precision shots that we are getting and those defeats, we're creating diamond lances everywhere, and with the rally barricade as well as the exotic helm that we are using, stasis shards and diamond lances are basically infinite with this, so it is very easy to get this weapon to overflow because of its catalyst, get creeping attrition to proc with those precision shots, and getting stasis shards to proc the Overflow with breaking all of those crystals, all of those slowed targets. So it is, like I said, a very niche kind of weapon, especially for an exotic. We have a lot better stasis exotics, especially Azure Sector, easily the best stasis exotic in that kinetic slot in my opinion. We got Vercurve's Glass, that nice exotic stasis bow as well, which I think personally I would use over this because it just feels way better. There's a lot more stasis shards. And then this one right here with Wicked Implement is pretty nice, like I said, for some situations, but we have way better options in the PvE realm for a lot of builds, even in the stasis realm. So this thing in overall, I guess I would say, is getting about a C-, maybe D+ for an exotic inside of the game. Takes a very niche build to use this, so when stasis burn is happening, scout rifles are getting a buff. That surge might be a good thing to use, but besides that, nothing really is worth the grind for me on this weapon. Like I said, we have better options with our stasis bow, stasis trace rifle in that kinetic slot, and it takes a little bit to grab this weapon, with catching all 3 of those exotic fish, having to go into the Ghost of the Deep dungeon, turn in all of those little fish at the Hive statues, and then defeat a secret boss and finish the dungeon. It takes a little bit to grab this weapon, and it definitely is not rated high enough, in my personal opinion, to be worth that long grind. And even when we take it into PvP, there's so many better weapons. DMT, Mida Multi-Tool, Jade Rabbit, all way better scout rifles. Even there's legendary ones that feel way better to me than this weapon. So totally up to you if you guys want to grind this out. It takes a long while, like I said, so grab a fire team, get in those deep dive missions for that catalyst, get the tier 7, go through the Ghost of the Deep dungeon, face that secret boss in the Lucent Hive, and grab yourself this exotic scout rifle. Hopefully it gets a buff in the future with overflowing the magazine, goes up a little bit higher than 15. That would be amazing, and I think make this weapon way better if we could overflow higher than 30. So we'll see what happens, but design of the weapon, very good. Overall in the game though, not great. D+, C-, like I said. So thank you guys again for that support. No, we're almost to season 22, so a lot of new content coming out when that happens in a couple weeks here. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, follow the channel, join the Discord, everything like that. One Eye Jedi basically everywhere, Jedi Gaming, so go check that out. I truly appreciate that and all the support. I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.